question is, why was HYPE closed? And it's closed. Do you have plans to reopen an alternative school? No, Ms. Cooper's going to answer this question. Okay, no, you're first, and you'll be last, Ms. Torrey.
I honestly have to say, I don't know the reason that HYPE has been closed. I thought that the concept was a good concept. I believe that there needs to be an assessment done as it relates to our students. Because you see, what happens is that as a substitute teacher, what I find when I was working in the school district for the 3 years that I did, that sometimes if you have 5% of your students, you spend 90% of your time if those 5% are being disruptive. Now, there's many reasons that our students are disruptive. But the point is, that's what happens in a classroom. If there are students that do want to learn, then they should have the ability to do so without having to be disrupted by the 5% that don't. So in that regard, I think that something like an alternative school is a good idea. However, I think that we need to come back to the table and take a look at what did happen with HYPE. Why was HYPE taken away? And there were some good things that was there, and we need to work on those good things and enhance them. But I do believe that there should be some system in place for students that fall into that category.
Mr. Byers?
Okay, I'll have to honestly admit, I don't know. This happened before I became a board member, and it wasn't talked about subsequent. It has not been one of our major concerns, but it's a good question, and quite frankly, I can't give you an answer. Why it started, why it closed, and if it's going to be continued. Okay, if I am fortunate enough to be elected to the board, I promise you I'll get an answer. Thank you.
I don't know why HYPE Academy was closed, but when we look at the success of the academy at large, we saw students who could not perform on a regular day-to-day basis actually go into HYPE Academy and perform not just at level, but above level. And so there was a success rate there. When HYPE Academy did close, many of those students were turned back out to the street. Many of them aligned themselves with gang affiliation. Some of them continued on through BOCES, and they were able to graduate. But at the end of the day, I think what we've got to do is we've got to think outside of the box, and we've got to stop the cookie cutter approach. And the cookie cutter approach says that this one formula must fit for every child. And when you find a child that doesn't fit that cookie cutter approach, then we call them, we label them. But at the end of the day, HYPE was an opportunity for that child not to be labeled as dysfunctional, but be labeled as a brilliant mind that just had some challenges. We also need to understand that in HYPE Academy, in the village at large, throughout our entire local circumference, we should be able to have a drop-back-in program. That no matter when you left school, for whatever reasons, many of our children, because of the economics of our village, have to go out and actually work, or actually have to contribute to the household at large. And so at the end of the day, there should be a drop-back-in policy, that if you are a resident of the village of Hempstead, and whatever your situation may have been for that moment, that we still have open arms to receive you back into a program that will allow you to not only receive a GED, but your education, and that you can graduate and move forward.
Being that I'm not on the board, I do not know the answer to that question. I do want to say that I believe the HYPE Academy is currently being staffed, and we're spending some funds for the HYPE Academy. So before I yield the time to our school board president, because maybe she can answer that question, I do believe that we need to have a better vocational and alternative program, and understand that alternative programming is not just for students who have behavioral issues. Some students require special needs when it comes to education. So if we do have a so-called hype academy, which is for alternative education, and maybe we need to be utilizing it, and maybe seeing what, we need to do to make it better if it wasn't working the way it was working, it was supposed to be working before. But being that I'm not on the board and we have our president, I'm gonna yield to my rest of the time to her.
Thank you for being so kind, young man. Let me just set the record straight. First of all, the young people that was at HYPE, they're in a program called CARE at the high school. Let's try not to label our students what they should not be. And they're doing very well. And if you care to visit high school, you should do so. And some of our kids had some major problems. I cannot discuss it here, and I will not discuss it because it's family, and by law, I can't discuss it. But we had that program, HYPE, is situated at the high school. We would never just throw kids out, trust me. We feed them, we give them their dinner. They have after-school programs. Some of them go today, and some of them go tonight. And I met with the kids a few weeks ago, and they came up to me and Miss Simmons. They said, Ms. Cross, we're so happy that we're not in HYPE. They said, it seems like you had us in a prison there. I said, what is it about HYPE you didn't like? They said, we just didn't like it. We want to be in the high school where we go to high school, where I can go to the gym. They said, it's much better here, and we like being here with Mr. Strong. He said, and we eat lunch, we have hot soup, salmon. Thank you. It is working. Okay, so I would say to you, the CARE program is working. We're doing science, we're doing math, we're doing English, we're doing early childhood intervention there. We're doing a lot of things there. It's directed under Mr. Strong, under Mrs. Young, and Mrs. Blunt. They're the head administrators of that program. And I beg anyone to go and see it. It's just beautiful running at night. And the kids, and then they get involved in the swim program, they get involved in the chess program, and some of them have signed up for the tennis club. So these students are, and a few of the students are now back in day school. So it seems to be working very, very well. Thank you.
How many are actually graduating?